be showing you a 4D opening present, and this isn't the first 4D opening present I've done. This is actually a remake video because I made one of these several years ago, and I'll put a link to the original video down below. But every once in a while I just go back and redo something I've done already. I know you guys, if you follow my Halloween series, you know I do a 3D coffin or a 4D coffin that opens quite often. Coffin often, but this year we're going to be doing another 4D gift. It has a teddy bear inside, some mylar flakes for like the wrapping around the teddy bear, which is really cute. I hope you love this as much as I do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see my future videos as well. So I'm going to begin with an overlay of shimmery white acrylic just to keep it very simple in the background. If you wanted to go a little bit like extra, one thing that I considered doing and decided to just keep it a little simpler is adding some rhinestones and some glam in the background as far as, you know, that's concerned. Because above the present, there would certainly be room if you wanted to go that route. After I have that shimmery layer down, I'm going to encapsulate the nail with a layer of clear acrylic to make sure it is nice and strong. Just kind of walk that acrylic down the nail so that it has a really nice layer. Anytime I'm using like a shimmery color or a glittery color, I really want to encapsulate because it adds so much depth to the color. Once you file it and you apply some glossy gel on top of it, it just makes whatever colors underneath that look extra deep, and I love that look. And then file the nail into shape with your e-file, making sure it is nice and smooth. And now on a little piece of paper, I'm going to be drawing out a template. So I've got an initial rectangle, and I'm going to draw a smaller rectangle within it, and then draw extra sides that I'm going to need. So the bigger rectangle is for the top of the box, and the smaller one is for the base of the box. And then I've got all those extra pieces. And sculpting all of these is a tedious, time-consuming process because you have multiple of each of those shapes, and you have to sculpt each of those shapes out. So for those two main, the starting rectangles, the smaller one and the bigger one, you just need one. The only thing you need two of are these side shapes. So these ones I'm doing right now. So you need two of that one that fits the side, and then two of the one that fit on the bottom. And the great thing with working on top of a nail form backing is that you can slide it around, and like you can see, I just slid that over, and I'm going to be sculpting another one. So if you feel like you need to have extra space between each of the pieces that you're sculpting versus how far apart you drew them, you certainly have that opportunity to kind of move them around and, you know, make that decision. So just keep sculpting, and you do need one of each of these shapes at least, except for those two that the sides of the bottom of the box, which you do need a duplicate of. But otherwise, you just need one. So you need to also make one of the bigger rectangle for the top of the box, and then you're going to need one of each of those skinny sides that I drew as well. And when you're making these templates, if you are confident that you don't need them, you don't have to make one. And, you know, it's kind of a 50-50 shot whether I decide to make a template or not. Depends on the design a little bit and how many pieces I need and how exact I want them to be size-wise. But for this one, if you are somebody that sometimes makes them, I would recommend it because there are just so many little shapes to make that having that underneath really can just help you out and make the whole process go a little bit easier. Because let's face it, with a design like this, it's time consuming, it's a process, and if you can do something to simplify it for you, why not? So here's the last piece. Finally, pretty much we're going to be sculpting that long skinny side for the side of the box. Just like so. Kind of tuck in the sides, make sure everything is as straight as you can get it. And now I'm going to be gluing the sides of the base of the box together. So this isn't the lid, this is just the actual part where your little teddy bear will be residing. So I've got the two sides, and if you do decide to go back and watch my original Christmas gift box video that this nail was inspired by, you'll probably see that my process has changed slightly over the years, and it's just a little different altogether, but both options work. I didn't used to sculpt the bottom of the box, I would just do it on the nail. So everything is just a little bit updated and different, but it's really cool just to go back and see where, you know, what I used to do. At least for me, I love going back and seeing my past work because you can really very clearly see improvement. And I know my Ursula design that I did about a month ago already, that one is one that I definitely showed on Instagram. I posted a picture of 2016 to 2020 as far as the two designs that were similar go, and you can see such a crazy difference. And I think it's just so inspiring both to myself and to other people to see the amount that just a little bit of hard work and perseverance and stubbornness really can make. So after I have my box glued onto the nail, I'm going to use more of that green acrylic just to smooth out all of the connections and the edges and the lines and make sure that my box is as close to perfect as I can get it, which obviously is not perfect, but it is somewhere in that vicinity. And then I'm going to use a hand file to straighten out all of my lines. If you don't want to use a hand file to do this, you can just leave the box as it was. I mean, if it was pretty close, you don't really have to file it. It's just a, like an extra step, basically. And now with a very narrow bit on my e-file, I'm going to create 2 little indents on the side of my box, the side that is going to be where the hinge is. So I've got the first little indent made, and then I'm going to go through and do the second one. So these are bead-sized little half circles. And then I'm going to slide 2 beads onto a piece of very fine wire and then probably drop them about 6,000 times. So there goes the first bead, and I'm using red beads for this because I did red details on top of my box. There is the second bead. Now the hard part is getting the beads to lie in those little grooves without falling out of the box. That is not easy, and it takes, like I said, 6,000 tries. I mean, you do it over and over and over again, and finally, eventually, they start to stick, but the first time around, not a chance. So just expect that. If the first time you make a hinge, you're probably going to be at it for a good hour, just out of sheer frustration. But it's worth it in the end, I promise. And then repeat the assembly process for the lid. So this time you only have 3 sides, because the side that is going to have the hinge on it, you don't need to make that piece that drops down because it won't open then. It won't tip up. And then secure everything together with more of your green acrylic. And so when you're doing this, you just kind of use a little bit wetter acrylic so it kind of floats into the right areas and it fills in all those gaps. Don't try to just rely on the nail glue to, make this nice and perfect, because it's not going to hold up. It's going to just be very brittle and breakable. So once again with a hand file, I'm going to clean up my edges. Like I said, same process as the main part of the box. It's really important to get everything, smooth and, at least to me, lined up. And then glue the lid to the box. So put a tiny bit of nail glue on top of those beads and then press the box down. Then apply some no wipe gel top coat over your box. So do it like piece by piece. So first I did the lid, and then I went through and I did the rest of the box. But then burnish some green gold duochrome powder onto the surface of the box, everywhere where you have that no wipe top coat on it. I would recommend using, as I was using a little cosmetic sponge, because it just applies it better on something like this. Then remove the extra powder with a soft brush and finish it with a layer of matte top coat. One of my favorite effects these days is a metallic matte, so something that has kind of a metallic shift underneath but is still, not shiny. I think that looks just so cool, and it has such an interesting texture to it that, especially when you have a combination of shiny and matte together, it's just a nice little extra touch. So then with some red gel polish, I'm going to be adding the details to my box's ribbon, or the start to my box's ribbon. So I'm going to first do the line going across the top of the box, and then make it make another line going across the other way. So one horizontal and one vertical. And then after you have those lines done, then I'm going to apply gel sealer over the background of the nail and over the ribbon. So the great thing with my gel sealer is that the brush is really small, so it can fit in kind of around different shapes easily. So I don't have to worry about getting a smaller brush out to gel sealer over the top of that ribbon. I can just do it straight from the bottle. And now on a silicone mat, we're going to be painting a strip of red gel polish, the same color that we used to make our ribbon. And I'm going to just do a pretty decent size. It's probably, I don't know, 1/2 inch by 2 inches or so, or maybe 3/4 inch by 2 inches. And I didn't measure it, but approximate. And then some no wipe top coat over that piece to make a piece of gel polish material. Cure it again, and then it'll peel right off your mat, and then you can trim it into 3 long, narrow strips. So first I'm just going to clean up the edges, because it's always a little bit funky looking on the sides when you make a gel piece like this. And then after you have that, you can cut it in thirds. And so just make these nice long, try to get them as straight and as even as possible. If they aren't perfect, it really isn't that big a deal, because they're going to be cut into several smaller pieces after this. So now here's the fun part, is you get to twist the ends into making a little ribbon bow. So if you want to make a bow that's just like your classic 2 loop shape, you can do that. Or if you want to kind of go over the top crazy like me, then you can make these other ones that are like a classic Christmas ribbon. So you twist them into a cone shape. Each section you go, twist and then you glue. And so this is actually not as time consuming as you might think, because once you get on a roll with it, it goes fast, and you need to have 9 of those little twists. And then on the last piece, we're going to be just cutting it into like your little triangle out of the ribbon shape. So now going back to my 6 twists, I'm going back to my 9 twists. I'm going to start with 6 of them and form a circle. So I'm going to glue the first 2 just directly across from each other and then add 2 like a V shape on each side from there. So just press them together, and it's a lot of nail glue. And if you're somebody that doesn't handle nail glue well, because nail glue is really unpleasant, just in general, it's not a fun thing to work with. Maybe, take your time, or maybe use something like a gel to attach this instead of nail glue. So it's kind of an up to you sort of scenario. But after you have those first 6 and you have a nice little circle going with them, then you're going to do 3 twists in the middle. And if you're looking at your little twisty shapes and you're thinking, okay, some of these are bigger than others, use the bigger ones in that original circle and the smaller ones in the middle. So you got your next ones of the 3, and that'll kind of fill in the center of it, and it'll make it look all finished off. And I'm going to be gluing those little tails of the bow down to the top of the box, and I'm only gluing these onto the lid. So it's the top of the lid. So don't actually hit the box itself or you won't open again. And then glue the ribbon in the middle again, just to the lid. Make sure you don't get any glue where it doesn't belong. And then after I have that, I'm going to glue those tails of the ribbon down so that they're not sticking straight out, but they kind of flow around the box, and it makes them look just softer that way. So just glue those down. And now we get to make our teddy bear. This nail has so many different layers and pieces to it between making the box and then making the ribbon, and now we're making a teddy bear for it. But if you open the box and nothing is inside, that would be, I think, disappointing for many reasons. But we're going to be making our little teddy bear with a lighter shade of brown acrylic, so we don't want it to be too dark. I don't want anything on this nail to be dark and intense that way. You want it to all just be kind of light and bright and airy. So we've got our little teddy bear with this medium brown color. I have the head to start with, and I'm going to be sculpting the body of your teddy bear. And if you want to be a little extra cautious about making sure it'll fit in the box, if you don't think you can eyeball it and make sure it'll fit in the box just by being able to see that, then you could set your template that you use to sculpt the pieces of the gift box underneath it and sculpt it within the smaller rectangle. And that will give you just the knowledge base that it will fit, because that's where, that's what you use to sculpt your little box. So that would work as like extra layer of precaution. So we've got head, body, and then the back legs of our teddy bear, and then the little arms of the teddy bear. And all this is just done with the same color. If you wanted to, I know I've seen some teddy bears that have like slightly different colored arms to do more details if you wanted like slightly lighter color arms and legs. But for me, just a simple brown teddy bear was all I wanted. And then I'm going to use very small beads of acrylic to grab his ears and place those down. Just really small shapes. You don't have to worry about it being too thin, because once it's inside the box, it's pretty secure. And then I'm going to be sculpting his snout and on his belly with a shade of cream. Like I said, light and bright. So I've got just that nice light color. It's not as bright as the background that I use that shimmery white color, but it's still really nice and vibrant. And then I'm going to be adding a little bit of that same color in the ears and then on the bottom of the paws. So just like the little paw pads that are there. And then the last thing I'm going to do is with a brown, I'm going to be adding the little nose on my teddy bear. So now with some acrylic paint, I'm going to be adding some details to my bear, and you can go really detailed with it and do a bunch of stitching lines if you want, and really just, go all in with the details, or you can keep it really simple and just do the basics like the line for the mouth and the eyes. I went somewhere kind of in between, and I did some of the outlines where I thought they needed it, and but I didn't go full out and do a whole bunch of stitching or anything that way either. And then after I have my little bear painted, I'm going to be finishing him with a layer of matte top coat. And then you can start putting everything together. So I'm going to fill my little gift box with some jewelry gel. And after I have it all filled in with a pretty thick layer of that gel, I'm going to place in my teddy bear and press him into the gel, and then press some just clear mylar flakes around him. So it looks almost like he has a layer of wrapping around him inside the box. And it doesn't show up as well on video as I really hoped it would, but he looks so cute all covered up with the mylar flakes. After that's cured, this nail is done. I love it so much. Like I said before, definitely go back and check out the original one. You'll see that I did things just a little differently, both with assembling the box, sculpting everything, and the bow as well. It's one of my favorite 3D bows that I've ever done. So check that one out too. I'll put a link down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.